expensive because it's very in demand. Um, Luckily, I found some. I can't tell you where it comes from because I don't know if the source will never sell me to me again because the SWA might come down on them.
Yeah.
But and we actually honestly went through about 60 different blends to get it right. It took a lot of different mixtures, different proofs.
Okay.
I think you know about our 100 proof mixture.
Yep.
We ended up proofing it down at the suggestion of some very smart tasters, and the proof down version tended to be better. But we put different ages of rye in, different ages of bourbon in, um, and we ended up with the final recipe that hopefully you get to taste.
Beautiful. Well, I'd love to taste it right now if you want to take me through it.
Oh, my pleasure, indeed. So I have a newly opened bottle. Oh, and by the way, so there's a picture of a fella there. Can you tell what he is?
Um, is he a hobo?
No, no.
You said
Oh,
hobo before.
something Western.
I can't.
He chases cows for a living.
Is it cowboy?
Yeah, cowboy.
Okay.
Perfect.
I
Joshua,
was like, God, could it be that obvious?
they don't really know much about these guys back east, but out west here, we're all cowboys basically.
All right.
But can you tell what he's doing by the fire?
Well, he's got a cup in his hand.
Yeah, couple with whiskey. What's he got in his other hand?
Is he poking the fire there?
Pretty much, yeah. So
Okay.
very romantic picture. Actually, one of our bottlers drew this. Very cool. Very romantic picture. Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So he's poking the fire. There's actually a joke that goes with this. That if you get me drunk, I'll tell you at the end of the session. So this is the world's only whiskey with a joke.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I poured some, and again, the goal. I didn't want to overwhelm people with peat because not all American whiskey drinkers love Scotch. Because most of them think all Scotches are peated, but most of them really don't like the peated Scotches, which is why I guess they think they're all peated. But so the goal is to be more subtle with the peat
Yeah.
and make sure you felt like this was a campfire the morning after. Um,
Okay.
but we wanted to pick up some of the peat smoke in it. So you want to know it's there, but we didn't want it to overwhelm you. But more so, I wanted you to get the melding of that smoke with the fruit and the vanilla and the caramel.
Sure.
And then the rye was added. So, I mean, the main theme is the bourbon, uh, and the rye is sort of added as a back note with a little floral spice in it.
Sure.
But the bourbon for me the bourbon's an LDI bourbon, and the rye is an LDI rye.
Uh-huh.
The Scotch is unnamed, and the bourbon and rye are both about 6 years old,
Okay.
6 plus, and we have some different ages going in there. But the bourbon we wanted a really fruity bourbon, so it's the high corn bourbon, and actually their bourbon has a lot of cherry and orange in it, and I really love the cherry and orange notes in their bourbon.
So what are the excuse me, if you're able to tell me what's the overall ratio from rye to Scotch to bourbon?
Oh, now that's top secret.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you
No,
tell?
honestly, we went through about 60 different recipes.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, Joshua, you wouldn't believe a 1% change in a recipe had a big impact. And so
Yeah.
I sent out 3 different samples to a few reviewers,
Yep.
and it's unbelievable the differences that the reviewer picked up in those 3 samples. And the percentages weren't hugely way off in those. They're more than 1%. But, a 1% difference had a big difference. So believe it or not.
But you had mentioned that you wouldn't believe adding 1% of this or 1% of that would change something just really quickly. This is one thing I am sort of proud to be a part of. This was the Master of Malt St. Isidore blend.
Oh,
It was
wow.
the bloggers blend. Basically, 10
Oh,
bloggers had to.
sure. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's the
So
final.
so they said, come up with a blend, and I had countless blends, and it was tweaking here and there, and so I understand what you're saying when you just tweak it the littlest bit, and the whole thing can change completely.
Absolutely. And not only tweaking it a little bit from the ratios, but tweaking a little bit from the proof.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you've got bottle shock to deal with. So this took us about a year to get it right.
yeah.
Because, you blend something on Friday, on Monday, it's a different product. And to be honest with you, the Campfire now that we're tasting, I think it's even better now that it's sat in a bottle for a month.
Huh.
It's way better now for me personally. The peat had a huge influence on the integration of the flavors.
Okay.
So anyway, and bringing it down to 92, and honestly, there was one reviewer that was instrumental in forcing that. I won't mention his name,
Okay.
but I bet he wears a yarmulke every now and then. That up. No, honestly, Josh, you were instrumental in bringing that down. I got to mention.
Cheers.
So, because I actually started him at 92, and I pushed him up on like recipe number 30 because I thought it tasted better. So.
Huh.
Okay, back to the tasting.
Back to the tasting. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got the bourbon, high corn bourbon.
The bourbon's the main notes. A high corn bourbon, very, very fruity. And then the Scotch is sort of the backbeat. If you're a musician, I put this on the label. It was kind of fun to think about. I like music too. I don't play, but you have the melody,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
the bourbon, and then you have the enhancing flavor, or the harmony.
Yeah.
That's the rye, and then there's the accent, and the peat is the accent, and that's for me. The floral, spicy thing was important in there. And without the rye, it was a different product. So that's why we ended up putting the rye. It was kind of fun.
Well,
So I really like the nose. I pick up tobacco. And in fact, when we ended up with final recipe, I was actually down in Mexico. We were working with our bottle maker because they make our bottles in Mexico. And I really love Mexican food, and I really love high Mexican food. And we went to a place that had a tobacco ice cream. And it was the most unbelievable thing I've ever had. You couldn't eat much of it. But they would make a tea out of the tobacco.
sure.
If you imagine tobacco leaves, and then they made an ice cream out of the tea. But I get a lot of tobacco in it.
Wow.
So, and I don't smoke, but I do kind of like the tobacco.
I have a cigar every now and again, but I prefer them unlit. That fresh, dry tobacco.
Tobacco's really beautiful. Absolutely, I agree. So I love the nose on this, and honestly, I think this is my favorite whiskey out of all the whiskeys we have.
Okay.
I love that smoke note. So, and I've gotten into the smoky mezcals lately,
Yeah.
and that also was a driver for this, but it was a driver after the fact, not before the fact. But I really like the smoky mezcal.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm a big fan of Del Magui.
Oh yeah, they are good. So anyway, the smoke, I didn't want it to be overwhelming, and I think the smoke actually comes through more in the taste, in the palate, than it does the nose. But I do get that sort of morning after campfire on the nose.
Yeah, I see that. My nose or my senses are really being taken by some of the rye spice in there that's just sort of lingering in the back and sort of on top there as well.
Yeah. The rye was an important addition because I just did bourbon scotch at first.
Yeah.
And the rye really elevated the nose and made it a lot more complex and fun. So I actually cheated and just took a little sip.
I saw that.
And so this is your first sip of it, isn't it?
Yeah, this is definitely this will be my first sip of it. I like that term.
Of what we call campfire.
What's that?
Of what we call campfire.
Of what you call campfire. So let's give it a go. Yeah, that smoke really comes through. It's
So
not.
It's much stronger on the palate.
Yeah.
And we didn't add any water to this, so the smoke of the phenols from the peat will come out a little bit when you add a little bit of water. So it is bottled at 92 proof. It's not chill filtered. So all the oils are in there, but the phenol will come through a little bit when you add a little water.
Oh, it's got a really lovely sweet finish to it.
The bourbon, it's a fun story on the bourbon. And it is very sweet bourbon. It's bourbon that was actually heated in the warehouses. We were able to buy the bourbon. Seagram's makes a gin. It's actually a very beautiful gin, by the way, but they heat the warehouses where they store the gin. And we got the bourbon on the floors above the warehouses where they heat the gin, so it was actually heated, and so it basically accelerates the taste by about a year.
Really?
It brings out a lot of the wood spice and the wood sweetness, and that's the bourbon that goes into this.
Oh, wow. So you could actually tell the difference between the bourbon matured there and bourbon matured elsewhere.
Yeah, they have brick warehouses, and most of them have very stable temperature year-round, but the ones above the gin floors, again, they stay much warmer year-round, and creates very different bourbons. Yeah, it's true. That was the bourbon we put in. Very, very pretty. And for me, the fruit in it, I get this sort of orange, blood orange, and then cherries, dark cherries.
Mm. Yeah, I'm with you on the cherries, but coming back to the nose, I'm now detecting more of that smoke element.
Oh, there's our chef. Sorry.
No worries.
He's looking at us through the window. Yeah, there. Can you see him?
No, I can't see him. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there he is. So he's coming in for a tour tonight. We have a restaurant here, Joshua. We are the world's only. A very good thing in marketing, which I've learned, is to be the world's only something. And we're the world's only ski-in gastro distillery.
So this is where we're invading your sanctuary.
Are you guys invading our sanctuary? So I'm on a tape.
Okay. We're invading the sanctuary.
This is Joshua. Joshua,
how are you? Cheers.
There he is.
Hello, cheers.
Joshua.
Who's this?
I'm Gary.
That's Gary.
Hello, Gary. How are you?
Gary, nice to meet you.
Cowboy
Hello,
Mike.
Mr. Boy.
Hello, Jim. Pleasure to meet you. This is Joshua Hatton.
Hey.
So this is like a
Hi, guys.
Hey, Joshua. Hey, Josh.
Cheers. Good to meet y'all.
Big boy. Cheers.
So Joshua runs an amazing blog called the. Well, I don't have the new name down. Joshua, what's the new name?
Well, yeah. So the new name is just called Jumalt Whiskey Reviews.
We'll get into that later, but it wasn't the Jewish. Well,
Oh,
Joshua.
so that's the blog. But now I run an independent bottling company. It's called the Jewish Whiskey Company. But we have a society, for lack of a better term, called Single Cask Nation. So people buy into the business and they gain access to the whiskeys that we bottle.
So
It's like the Jewish dating club for drunks.
Exactly. I like the way this guy thinks.
Yeah, absolutely. I got it. I mean, you put the two together, you can't miss.
Cowboy Mike, you got to join. I'll send you the details.
Please.
So Joshua's got an amazing palate, and he's picking out single casks from Scotland and bottling them.
Wow.
And you're going to love them.
Yeah.
So James and I went to Scotland with Mike.
Okay.
We'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so we're on tape right now, and Joshua's going to probably cut this out, but I doubt it.
This is too fun.
Don't count me out.
We're tasting our new Campfire, and Josh, we're doing like a tasting review, and this goes on his blog and stuff like that.
I keep adding Campfire to everything, Josh. I keep adding Campfire to everything.
This is beautiful, beautiful whiskey.
My bathtub the other night and did a bubble bath with it.
Joshua, I'll walk you through the rest of the restaurant here on Skype. When we're done, and where are we going to find you guys?
Livery restaurant.
The livery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Northwest.
We'll walk him through to see the. He hasn't been. He skis, but he only skis back east.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show him what he's missing. So we'll get.
I'm going to give him a tour while you're doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Beautiful.
All right. Good to see you guys. We'll see you in a little bit.